precious.
Hello and welcome to another video. Today I wanted to sit down and kind of go through some of my favorite shots and theories, fan theories for the new The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power teaser trailer that dropped the other day. Now, I know that this show has been causing quite a bit of controversy in the Tolkien fandom. This kind of split in the fandom when it comes to adaptations isn't a surprise to anyone, least of all myself. It happened with the original trilogy, and I was there in the trenches when it happened with the Hobbit trilogy. When I tell you I have seen some things. Anyways, if you know me, I'm a pretty easy person to please when it comes to adaptations. For me, as long as the spirit of the original work is there and you can just tell by looking at it what it's supposed to be and the bones of the story are there, I'm happy. So I guess you could say I'm more optimistic than most when it comes to this show, although I do have some fears which I will get into at the end. Let's go through some of my favorite shots, starting with this close-up of Galadriel's eyes, her face right here. This first shot we have of Galadriel is perfect, and it's by no accident that they filmed a close-up of her eyes like that here, and so many other times in the trailer as well as doing that with other characters. In the other two trilogies, a close-up of Galadriel's intense stare was her signature shot. So what they're doing here is trying to connect the younger Galadriel that we see here with the Galadriel of the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogies. And it works, her gaze here is still intense, but it's softer than the trilogies, and they paired it with music that sounds almost exactly like a rendition of the Rivendell music, which when I heard it, I immediately teared up and I got goosebumps. I was so excited that they did that. Not only that, but they have her doing a voiceover, which again Galadriel is known for in the trilogies. She opens the Fellowship of the Ring with her voiceover. It's clear to me at least that they are doing everything they can to make sure that the two versions of the characters are linked to help old fans feel more comfortable with this new iteration of the character. Next, we have two shots of two groups of people running and then walking, and I'm mentioning this because if I didn't know that these shots were from Rings of Power, I would have said that they were some kind of deleted footage from the trilogies. Something about the sweeping landscape shots above the group of people is incredibly reminiscent of Jackson's style of filming, and again, this is an attempt to make it feel similar to the trilogies, and frankly, it's working. In the second part of those two shots, there is also what appears to be an eagle, which is very exciting. If you have read the Silmarillion, you know that the eagles were involved in various parts of the story, so that is very exciting to see. Next, we have a shot of an elven city. I've heard a couple different ideas of what this could be. The best one, in my opinion, being that this is Lindon. It is very similar in architectural style to Rivendell in the trilogies, so again, we're drawing parallels between the two. The architecture is so similar, and with all that nature and the waterfalls, it looks fantastic. Now, Lindon was founded in the Second Age, Year 1, and Elrond would have obviously spent time there. So it's possible, if we're trying to make the show and the trilogies fit together in the same kind of film canon, that he used Lindon as inspiration for Rivendell, which he founded in the Second Age of 1697. Next, we have our first proper shot of Khazad-dûm, or Moria, and I am so excited about this for a couple different reasons. Firstly, in the original trilogy, what we saw of Moria was very dark and dead, and secondly, look at the attention to detail. I am loving the fact that there is greenery and plants growing. It really shows a lived-in feel. Perhaps the dwarves are figuring out how to grow their own food underground. Maybe they just like the plants. Someone pointed this out elsewhere, but look at the shafts of light coming in from outside. When the Fellowship visit Moria in the books, there were shafts tunneled from the outside that would let in some kind of light. And if you look here, there are shafts of light coming in from the outside. That's not the kind of detail that would be there if you weren't paying attention to the books. And just as well, the overall aesthetic of Moria is very true to what has been established visually for dwarves in past trilogies, giving that continuity that a lot of fans, myself included, are looking for. Next we have my favorite part of the whole trailer. We have Elrond and Galadriel having a very serious conversation where he tells her she's fought long enough to put up her sword, and she responds, "You have not seen what I have seen." And then he replies that he has seen his share. She repeats herself, and we get this shot of her. Everything's red. She's covered in what looks like ash to me, but I'm open to other interpretations. And then this amazing shot of bodies floating in what looks to me like water with one impaled. And it looks like everything on the surface is on fire. It's quite the striking shot. And out of everything in the trailer has stuck out to me the most. People seem divided on it. Some people think the bodies are actually floating in the air, and this is some kind of flashback to the Dagor Bragollach, or which is in Sindarin, means the Battle of Sudden Flame. This was the battle where Fingolfin, the High King of the Noldor, fought Morgoth in single-handed combat and wounded him 7 times before Morgoth killed him. Fingolfin, for reference, is Galadriel's uncle. He was Finrod, Galadriel's father's brother. The amount of power displayed in that shot would be appropriate for Morgoth and the time period, as this time period is much higher in magic than the other trilogies, which are set at a much lower amount of magic at the time. Personally, I think this is a flashback to the first kinslaying, which Galadriel was indirectly involved in. Either way, these are both horrifying events, which would give her reason to say that she has seen more than Elrond. Not to mention, she's also way older. Then we have a couple shots of Numenor, which were really good. The ships have a very striking look to them, almost like a bird. They have this kind of wing-like shape to them, which is important for a couple reasons. Seagulls are the cause of awakening the desire to journey to Valinor in elves, like we see in Legolas in The Return of the King. Swans were revered by the Teleri, who modeled their ships after them. The citadel guards of Minas Tirith wore helmets with wings on them to honor their seafaring ancestors of Numenor. So the fact that these ships' sails look like a bird's wings is a good attention, at least to me, to detail. We have a shot of a statue guarding the bay with its palm outstretched in welcome, and I have seen it compared to the Argonath, except that the Argonath were warning enemies to stay out of Gondor, and the statue was welcoming visitors. However, to me, the statues architecturally look very similar. It's obvious that they share lineage. And once again, it's just that little attention to detail that's really helping with continuity. Then we have this shot of a golden-leafed tree where Gil-galad and Elrond are having a conversation. I just love this shot and this conversation. It reminds me so much of similar scenes and shots from the other trilogies, especially in the way that the set is lit and the way the characters are posed and the costumes, and especially Gil-galad's line of "darkness will once again march over the land," or something along those lines. I don't quite remember. But it is very reminiscent of the books and, once again, the original trilogies. Then we have a shot of seagulls and an elven ship with a swan front to it, so maybe a Teleri ship. Galadriel is on it, so this isn't too much of a stretch to believe, so maybe this is after the first kinslaying. Then we have this shot of Tar Miriel, who is the Queen Regent of Numenor. She looks so regal and so perfect for the role. Tar Miriel has always been such an interesting and tragic figure to me. She was not necessarily in control of her circumstances, although she tried to be. And I'm so excited to see how the show depicts her and her story. And the actress looks incredible. Then we have this shot of what the fandom has dubbed Meteor Man, who we now know is called Adar, which means father. Some people think he's Anatar. I did too, until I heard this super interesting theory of how he could actually be a Maiar, one of the Blue Wizards. This would make perfect sense, since the Blue Wizards came to Middle-earth in the Second Age, whereas the other Istari didn't arrive until the Third Age. this would give the show their Gandalf-like character, although they'll have to be careful not to make him like a Gandalf knockoff, as literally almost nothing is known about the Blue Wizards, and if they make him too close to Gandalf, it could be a very serious misstep. A lot of fans won't appreciate that. But this could be a very interesting turn of events if this does turn out to be the case that this Meteor Man is indeed one of the Blue Wizards. Then we are shown a massive shot of Moria, more than we saw in the first one, with the dwarf leading Elrond in. I'm just gonna say it again, Moria looks amazing. I'm in love with the set design and everything about it, the way it's lit, again, with the greenery and the waterfalls, it is perfect. And again, the architecture, you have these like very geometric designs that we have seen in the Hobbit trilogy with the Lonely Mountain, and again with Moria in the Fellowship trilogy, these very, very harsh geometric lines that we have come to associate with dwarves. So again, we're getting continuity and I love it. The next shot that caught my attention was a shot of Durin holding what looks like a rock and saying, "This will change everything." Someone said that this could be the discovery of Mithril, and I looked into it, and Tolkien never specified when Mithril was discovered, so this could be a really interesting development. It would tie into the fall of Moria, which would be really cool to see, and also tie it into the Fellowship of the Ring. It would also mean that the Mithril Gate that we see in the Fellowship of the Ring has not yet been made, which would also be really fascinating to see and really could add an interesting arc to the show. So I'm really hoping that this is the case and that is indeed what Durin is holding. Then we see some very similar looking elves in similar clothes holding what appears to be identical swords, drawing their swords in a domed roofed room with a night sky that has no light. This could be taken as a throwaway shot, but personally I like to think that it is the sons of Fëanor taking the oath. The fact that there's no light in the night sky would infer, at least to me, that this is after Morgoth and Ungoliant kill the trees, which would then make this the oath, which would make this scene a million times cooler than some sort of rip-off MCU style of we shall draw swords together, like a we die together kind of thing. That would be really cool. This would also mean this is another flashback, probably again from Galadriel. So fingers crossed that is what it is. And finally, in the last shot, we have Harfoots walking over rolling green hills while the music in the background sounds eerily familiar. And you know why? It sounds similar in tone to The Edge of Night, the song that Pippin sings in Return of the King. Now, the reason that this works so darn well for the trailer is that The Edge of Night was used in a teaser trailer for the Battle of the Five Armies. So once again, we are given continuity, and I am so here for it. I was watching the trailer over and over, and at the end I kept thinking, why is this so familiar? And it's because it plays beat for beat the same way that that teaser trailer that had The Edge of Night plays. And just for fans who know, if you know, you know kind of thing. It just gives you that little piece of comfort that at least, these showrunners are doing what appears to be their due diligence. Now, as to what the Harfoots are doing, I read a comment here that this could be perhaps the Harfoots discovering what eventually will be the Shire. The fields that they are walking on in this last shot do look very sort of green and rolling, so it could be an early version of the Shire. That would be really cool. Overall, I am really happy with this teaser trailer, and most of my fears have gone. However, what does concern me the most, to be quite honest, is not Galadriel being, one of the main characters. It's not the compressed timeline. It's the inclusion and the focus on the Harfoots, who, if you don't know, are the early ancestors of what will eventually be hobbits. However, I don't really have much to say about them until we can watch the show and I can see how they fit into the story. I mean, hobbits, as Tolkien said, did not have any part to play in earlier events in Middle-earth at all until The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So including them in this really big second age story is a very bold choice, story-wise, which definitely could put off a lot of very hardcore Tolkien fans, and even fans who are, again, easy, like I'm hardcore Tolkien fan, but I am very easy to please when it comes to adaptations. And even this has me going, I'm a little worried. So we'll have to see. I'm going to hold back my opinion on the Harfoots until I have seen the show and I have seen how they fit into the larger story. Fingers crossed that it makes sense and works well. So those are my thoughts. What do you guys think? Have you seen the trailer? Are you a Lord of the Ring fan? What is your opinion and take on some of the theories that I mentioned? I would love to know. Let me know down in the comments below. And I will see you next time. Namarie.